Hello Unite. Today's about design development. Very often if I ask you to sketch an idea, you'll give me the simplest one you can think of. So for example, if I ask you to do a clock in the theme of distill, very often you might draw a round clock face with standard hour and minute hands and then some features. For example, here I've got thick black lines and some squares, primary colours. That's in the theme of distill, yes, but it's a very basic sketch, and I've just kept the very traditional round clock face idea. We want to push beyond that, okay? We want to create a freestanding clock that will, doesn't go on a wall, and for that you're going to need some sort of base, some sort of upright, and then your clock face. It doesn't have to look like that necessarily, but let me show you how I would approach some sort of 3D design development sketch. Start lightly in pencil. If I'm thinking distill, that's going to have sort of simple geometric shapes, and I might start with a very block form. Remember, the more 3D it looks, the better you're communicating the design to others. So imagine I had simple box shape base like that, and the heavier the base of your clock, the more stable it will be. From that I might have a thick upstand coming up, and this could be black to represent the solid black lines. Now I would have a round clock face usually, but I'm going to change it up. Instead of round, I'm going to have one corner of this clock is going to be square, and then the remainder of the clock face I'm going to have round. So I've come up with something a bit more original there. Now I can then add the features, the more traditional things like clock hands. It's up to you how you do this. And then to make it stand out on the page, I can use a fine liner pen, which is the best one to use to show the details more clearly. And if you're going around the outside, ideally you could go over a few times in your pen, or you could use a Sharpie or some sort of marker, and then it will really stand out. Just before I do that, I'm going to add some colour as well, because you want to make it appeal to the client that you'd be designing for. So if it's distill, it's going to be simple colours. And if I've got, imagine my light's coming from this direction, I'm going to leave this side light. Okay. And bear in mind, distill is very blocky and sort of simplistic. Other design movements are far more intricate and detailed. So it's up to you to identify the design features of that movement and make it stand out accordingly. Again, remember where your light source is coming from, so I'm going to have a light side here, or should we have this in medium tone? I'm going to have dark here. Now I'm going to rush this, so please take more care than I'm showing you here. And then I'm going to have light again. This one over here, I'm going to have yellow. Now, there's a basic clock form. To make it really stand out on the page, I'm going to use a marker. So thick and thin line, remember. So if you've got a thick line around the outside, it's just going to stand out that little bit more. If you are using a Sharpie, bear in mind it could very easily leak through underneath. So I've gone from a pretty flat, boring 2D round clock to something far more alternative. It doesn't take a genius just to experiment with shapes and ideas. Okay, and make sure you use colour or shading to make the features that you want stand out. You don't have to have numbers. You don't want numbers, why don't you just change it? I might just have block shapes so that it could still be red. It's not as functional. You could do something like that, or you could create your own numbering in the style of that movement. Okay, so I might do blocky style numbers to represent my interpretation of that design movement. Anyway, it's up to you, but there's an example.